Hi, everybody, and welcome to our special panel event, Lessons Learned Through CRM Texting. We are going to give everyone a few minutes to join. While we give everyone some time, let's get comfortable with the chat feature. So what schools do we have joining today, and where are we joining from? I am Jessica Stonish. I am from Mongoose. I am joining from Buffalo, New York today. Looks like chat is disabled. That's on me. Sorry, everybody. Let's see if we can enable chat. All right, let's see if we fixed it. Can we use chat yet? Anyone want to test it out? There we go. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. For those who are just joining, welcome. We are having a special panel event today, Lessons Learned Through CRM Texting. While we give everybody a couple minutes to join, we're testing out that chat feature. Glad we did, because I did not have that enabled. We're going to get started in just a minute. I am Jessica Stonish from Mongoose. I am in Buffalo. We've got a lot of people joining from all over. This is awesome. All right, so it's a little after 2, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to our special panel event, Lessons Learned Through CRM Texting. Again, I am Jessica Stonish with the Mongoose team. We have some special guests that I will introduce in a moment, but I wanted to get some housekeeping out of the way before we got to our panelists. So today we are going to cover everything that you signed up to learn about. So how to maximize results with your audience data, what modern higher ed engagement is and why it matters, the best technology for two-way texting communications, and when you're texting in a CRM, what are some of the drawbacks and how to text most effectively for higher ed. You are going to receive a copy of this presentation, both the presentation itself and a recording, so you can expect that at some point tomorrow. So we're going to start with a poll. First poll is, what CRM are you currently using? We batched this into, are you using a CRM with a texting feature? Are you using a CRM without a texting feature? Do you have a CRM at all? Just so we can know a little bit more about you as we have this conversation. If you want to drop what specific CRM you're using in the chat, that would also be helpful. I know we have several people on the presentation today who are using Slate. Yep, Gloria, Slate, CRM Recruit, just got Slate. Yep, some Lucian. Just got Salesforce. Recruit. It's great. Ooh, Fire Engine Red. I haven't heard of that one. Radius, Advise. HubSpot. All right, great. So we have a lot of people using a CRM with texting. About 66% of you, up 67% of you are using a CRM with a texting feature. We have almost 30% of you texting with a CRM without, or using a CRM without texting features. So we have one more poll for you before we introduce our panelists. One moment. All right, here we go. So how are you texting currently? Is your school using or considering using CRM texting? I know that we have people who are texting in their CRM currently, people who are thinking about it, people who are using, people who are using Mongoose with their CRM. For those of you who don't know, Mongoose has an engagement platform with two-way texting functionality. A lot of our clients integrate their CRM with the Cadence platform to send out personalized communications to their audiences. So we have a little bit of everything. Currently using CRM with texting features, about 33% of you considering using a CRM with texting features or using the texting features in their CRM, close to 20. Same for using two-way texting platform with their CRM, about 20, and another 20 currently using a two-way texting platform with manual data upload. So, and we have 11% not texting currently. So this is all great stuff to know. All right, so thank you so much for that background. A little bit about higher ed CRMs. Most of you are using CRMs currently, so you know this already, but they're essential for managing data across your student and donor lifecycle. So that's your one source of truth. That's your central hub of all of your audience data, who you are communicating with. It's a central hub also for communication with other ed tech platforms. So if you have something like a two-way texting platform or an engagement platform, that's something that you would integrate with your CRM as that central hub. It's designed for data management. It's designed very well for data management. And then we do have some CRMs, as many of you know, that have limited communication functionality right within them. So things like texting and communication features that are convenient for some things and maybe not so convenient for others. And we'll get into that. A little bit more about those CRM texting features. So a lot of schools who are maybe crunching those numbers, those budget numbers, they'll use CRM texting as a way to text that's a little bit cheaper to accommodate budget cuts. And while CRM texting might be really good for one-off communications, it's conveniently in your CRM, they come with really limited support and limited functionality, and there's not a ton of strategic guidance. So if you want to know, oh, how do we best connect with this audience at this time during the academic year, you're not going to have anyone to really help you. So another thing is with CRM texting features is you don't have the data or the analytics to show if your text campaigns are working. And they typically, because CRM functionality is focused on the data itself and texting is more of an afterthought, they're going to lag on things like TCPA compliance and data privacy standards that might open your school up to risk. So these are a couple of the things we're going to talk to our panelists about today. Speaking of our panelists, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let's talk to our panelists. So I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. We can start with Chris. If we could all go around your name, your institution, your title, and then a little bit of background as to why you're here.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. My name is Chris Shepner. I am an Associate Director of Admissions at St. Bonaventure. I've been at St. Bonaventure since the day I graduated back in 2013, all in admissions. We use Slate. And we actually were one of those schools that had budget constraints. So once we switched over to Slate, we were with Cadence. We said, let's take a year and try Slate. And I went into my director's office at the end of that cycle and said, what do we have to do to get this back? Where do we have to cut? Because I can't do this anymore that way. It was so much harder to build relationships when you're texting and it comes in 7 minutes later. And then it's just back and forth amongst other things that we'll talk about. But we came right back because of the functionality. I mean, when you use this product, it feels just like a regular text. And that was the thing that we loved the most, where Slate texting did not work that way.
Thank you, Chris. Let's go to Jesse next.
Hi, my name is Jesse DiMazzo, and I'm the Director of Enrollment Management, Marketing, and Communications at CalArts, which is a small art school in Los Angeles. We recently switched over to Mongoose Cadence because we found texting through Slate just unusably clunky, even though, like everyone, I'm guessing, we face our own set of budget constraints. The ability to look in the kind of bigger picture view of the value of building relationships in that kind of texting specific environment for our assistant directors just seemed like a huge win for us. from my perspective, it's the marketing lead at CalArts. So that's why we switched. And I have to say that ease of use and that ability to fully implement the features through that, this kind of rich set of features that exist in Mongoose Cadence has paid off really well for us.
Great. Thanks so much, Jesse. James.
Good afternoon. My name is James Coker. I am with East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. I am a triple hat wearing individual currently. I am the Senior Associate Director of Operations for undergrad, Interim Dean of Admissions for graduate admissions, and the CRM Administrator. So involved in a lot. And one of the things that surprised me just in the intros from the other gentleman is we are a TargetX new Salesforce client, and the stories are very similar. We used to be Ellucian Recruit. We switched to TargetX, went to use that system, and it was just unusable, clunky, and just our recruitment team was just having a fit because they couldn't do the same things that they were used to when we were on Cadence before. And I called the Cadence rep, and I felt like I was breaking up with y'all because of it, because we loved using it so much, and it broke my heart to say we weren't going to use it anymore. After about the first semester this fall, being live in TargetX and how bad it was, I came groveling back and said, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. And now with the integration between the systems, we are able to be more efficient, more thorough. We can connect with, we get over, I'm just on the freshman side of the 22,000 applications a year. Plus we have 100 and some odd thousand search and inquiries. So we can reach a massive population in a very efficient manner across all populations because of what we use with Cadence. So we're extremely happy to be back.
We're glad to have you. That's something that we hear a lot when we have schools who leave and they, you know, we've got budget cuts, we're moving to CRM texting. A lot of people come back and it's a lot of mess to clean up. But yeah, when you're wearing 3 hats, like so many people in higher ed are, something that's clunky and unusable can't be in your wheelhouse. You need something that's efficient. And then we have Mike. Mike, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Seaman. I'm on the Mongoose team with Jess. I work as a client success lead. A little bit of a unique perspective that I offer. I recently come from the higher ed campus side of things. I worked for 5 years in graduate enrollment management at Canisius College, where we were also Slate users and then switched over to Mongoose's Cadence platform for our texting. So I have a little bit of the perspective from the client side using that. And one of the main reasons of us switching over to Cadence's platform was that ability to have those more real relationships with prospective students. And in a time where everybody's fighting for less and less students, it's definitely important to build those meaningful relationships. And that was something Cadence gave us the ability to do that we just couldn't do with Slate.
And as someone who went to Canisius, I'm a Canisius alumni. I have received text from Canisius, and it really is a seamless experience. So we're going to get into some of the questions that we have lined up for our panelists today. We'll go in the same order. So we'll start with Chris. There's a common misconception that CRM texting features and two-way texting software are similar in function. Texting is texting, right? A lot of schools, not necessarily the people who are using the platforms, as you all know, I don't think there's anybody on this call who feels that way, who has used both. So in your own words, can you explain how a CRM texting feature and a student engagement platform with two-way texting is not a duplicate service at all? And just explain in your own words how they're different and why one might be more helpful to your staff than another.
The biggest thing that I found, and just it was right away that I noticed, was the speed. I mean, I could send you guys a text with Cadence right now. You'd have it like that. You'd text back. You'd know it wasn't, you'd have no idea where it came from, right? You get that text as a student, you're excited, you save the number, you text right back. The CRM texting, it would be maybe 7 to 10 minutes. I would get an email. You couldn't log in from the email to Slate. Then you had to log into Slate. You couldn't text from your phone. I mean, it was clunky. And you couldn't, the whole point is to build a relationship. Well, what's the point of texting if you can't text a kid back right away? They want immediate stuff. That's why they're texting you. So if you can't do that, there was no point in it. We still use our Slate texting for maybe event confirmations and things like that, because it's just like a reply Y if you're coming to the event. But in terms of the speed and being a small school, I mean, St. Bonaventure and Canisius are very, very similar schools. It's all about relationships for us, because we really do talk about how everything's personalized. We have a 12-to-1 student to faculty ratio, all of that kind of stuff. You can't bother texting if you're not actually going to do it that way. And so that was the number one thing for us. There's other reasons, and I'll let you guys get into other stuff like that. But for us, it was the speed and efficiency is why we came crawling back.
That's great. Thanks so much, Chris. Jesse, same question.
Yeah, I would just start by echoing everything Chris said. That was exactly, it was interesting. I've never met Chris before, but I was like, wow, that's the same kind of experience, but I will try to add on to it. Just in terms of, we're a small arts-based institution at CalArts, and people tend to, the applicants, but especially the admitted students, tend to build a very strong relationship with their admissions counselor, which I'm sure is true at every institution, but like the dancers, they speak the same language as the dance. And that ability for, to meet our, let's say, dance students where they're at, and for our admissions counselor for dance to just be able to use the phone and be able to interact so quickly with him. When he hated using Slate CRM text messaging, he's an expert in dance, right? He's not an expert in tech. And there's just one of me. So that ability to kind of create that environment, I would say, was an immediate, very big win for us in terms of switching over. And plus, I would say just looking at the data analysis that comes out of Cadence and the kind of heads up dashboard display and the ability to work with segmentation and tagging, which you can do in Slate, but it's the way it works in Cadence is so much more natural, especially since we do have, like many places, quite limited resources in terms of our operations at CalArts. Like the IT department's not involved at all. And then the final thing I'll say, which is kind of interesting, is that now our student experience team is kind of coming over and they're like, can you send out a text for us? I'm like, yes, but maybe at some point, you want to think about if this is what you want to go towards, because they're not texting, then, you need to kind of think about how this will work for you, but they like it. So those are my three things I'll say at this point.
Great. Thanks, Jesse. James, are you feeling settled in?
Yeah, is this better?
That's much better. Thank you so much.
I apologize for the sound and the quality. I thought I was going to be okay in that room, but apparently not. So
it's okay. You're sounding much clearer. So the question that we're answering right now is, there's a common misconception that CRM texting features and two-way texting through a platform like Cadence would be a duplicate service, that texting is texting. Could you explain in your own words why they are different and how Cadence has helped your school over your CRM texting feature?
I think the CRM texting feature, a lot of the CRM companies think, oh, it's an all-in-one product that can do all these things. But when you try to cram everything into one space, not being a Slate user, I share the exact same issues that Mike and Jesse shared. I'm not Mike, Chris, sorry. And Jesse shared about the clunkiness. In Target X, it was at any time you wanted to send a message to a group, the counselors had to build a report. They had to log into a completely different system. You could only send, if you didn't tag it as bulk message, it wouldn't tag it on the contact record. So you have no history. You couldn't do a one-off message unless the student already existed in the system. Otherwise, you'd have to build a report just to bring that one record in. It was just so clunky, and there was no notifications. So you can send a message out, but you wouldn't get notified that there was a message to respond to. So it was up to the team to have to go out there every day and check just to see. So going back to the using Cadence was just a no-brainer for us, because the ease of use, the speed, again, you can send a message and you can get a time frame of how long it's going to take to send the messages. So our recruitment team can know that if they're going to send a message to hey, we're coming to your school, the students will have that message by the time they got there and not have to wait for hours. The notification that, hey, there's a message out there, being able to automatically pull and move students in and out of the system and out of segments, and just the ease of use. And they're not the same using the texting through a CRM versus a two-way platform. Because of the two-way, it allows that centralized focus of being able to build those relationships and build them quickly.
Yeah, efficiency and usability. CRMs, again, really great, designed super well for data management and housing all of your data. But when it comes to communication, maybe not designed for it. Mike, same question to you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with what everybody else has said so far on this panel. I experienced all those same pains, definitely the speed of messages going out. I know from an enrollment perspective, we're living with the TikTok generation where they want that instant gratification. They're used to getting things immediately. So having that ability to text them right back out of a platform such as a Cadence or another texting designated platform, that's huge. Another big thing was automation. That was something we weren't really able to do through Slate and have those smart message auto replies or just keyword auto replies going out. And coming from an office of 2 with limited resources, that saved my staff a heck of a lot of time and effort from responding to things that could be done automatically that looked like it was being from an actual person sending them, and then having the ability to pick up in that conversation and respond to somebody if they had additional questions from there. But yeah, definitely the speed of getting things out and just the additional features that are in place. When you look at a CRM, I love Slate for a lot of reasons. It was great as an enrollment tool and getting people through the admissions funnel. But when you're going to actually have those one-on-one conversations with them, it just was not up to snuff and it failed to meet the needs that we needed for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we have some people on this call today who aren't currently texting. We have some who are texting through a CRM currently. We have some people who are texting through Cadence, and we have some people who are texting through another platform. And it doesn't matter what platform you're using, as long as you know how to use it as effectively as possible. For some schools, maybe CRM texting, if you're just sending one text out, a semester to a very specific group and you're not looking for any communication back, that might be enough. What we really want to dive into today is using your CRM data and your texting platform together. So personalization is the name of the game. Somebody already brought that up. I want to say it might have been Chris, but having personalized communications with your audiences is really key to supporting them better, to making connections, and to driving results at your institution. So my next question to the group is, how do you use the audience data in your CRM to personalize the text communications and the communications that you have with your audiences? And we'll start with Chris again.
Yeah, for us, that really comes down to the time of the year, right? I mean, data is the name of the game, whether it is the data on the back end you get through Cadence when you see how effective text was, how many people are opening it. Maybe you change your time of day based on that. But in terms of what we take from our CRM, we go as deep as, and we text before every high school visit. So even if there's one student from the high school, I used to recruit New York City. Now I have Rochester. So I have a much bigger population for where we're located with Rochester. So I have a lot of kids I'll text, but I would go to a school and maybe I had one student signed up. We would text that kid and get started now. We would try to get that student going right away. And then we use that through the entire funnel to try to really go through and maximize personalization, like we said, and take any data we have on somebody, whether it's, all right, we have this event, it's all for biology students, every single bio student, or, we're down in the health sciences in applications. Every health science student we have, we're going to text about applying all at once and really try to use every personalization aspect we can.
That's great. Thank you. Jesse, how do you use your CRM data to personalize?
Yeah, I think Cadence allowed us to utilize the tools of personalization that we were already kind of doing through email, but in Cadence, and specifically, using chosen first name and all of those things, and then especially like segmenting by program or population to kind of break it down to the interests of a particular group. Again, like this maybe isn't applicable exactly to everyone, but like our dancers are not interested in the same things necessarily as our animation students, right? They have kind of separate groups. So being able to personalize by interest, by name, and then to have the confidence on my end that we're able to further that personalization to its kind of final stage, which is again, just speaking directly with the admissions rep, right? At any stage of the funnel. and that the admissions rep will have a good experience because they like the app or they like the interface, they like the email notification. Cadence is really friendly, like the notifications are friendly. I don't know, it's fun to use. So they like that. So that just in having the confidence that personalization will go even beyond will include the data, but will go even beyond the data to the confidence that to develop the personal relationship is really what I like about it.
That's great, Jesse. Thank you. James?
So actually, I'll comment to that. I think there was a comment in the chat about preferred name. And that was one of the huge things that our team really wanted to utilize, because you couldn't do that with the built-in CRM. We can capture the preferred name, but the CRM texting tool wouldn't allow us to use it. So now that we have the API integration with Cadence, it actually has a feature set up that if there's a value in the preferred name, it'll use that. And if that's blank, then it defaults to the first name. So that was huge for our team, because now there's a lot of individuals that are out there that are focusing on their names and their pronouns and all of that. So that was very critical. And then being able to have the 25 different fields, we use it to customize and to build those relationships at this time of the year. Obviously, depending on the cycle, we were able to send out text messages to our students that are deposited but hadn't registered for classes or orientation, say, hey, let us know if you're coming or not. So being able to pull in all these different variables and fields allows us to build relationships, because we can say, hey, we've seen you done this step, but you haven't done these other two steps. And once they move along, now they get the message, hey, we've seen you do this step, now finish up the process. So it kind of helps us guide the student through the enrollment process from start to finish, from being able to say, we're coming to your school, or, hey, we got this going on, we got this event, and being able to, tag, hey, so-and-so, it's James from ECU. Do you have any questions? Or we're looking forward to seeing you at your tour tomorrow. Here's some additional information. Just being able to pull in all those elements are critical to building that relationship. And that's how we've done it.
Great. Thank you so much, James. And then Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what James said with that ability to pull in the specific data that you are looking for and being able to hyper personalize based off of that. Especially on the graduate level, dealing with so many students for so many different programs, being able to segment out and send messages that are strictly related to them was something that was incredibly easy to do out of Cadence that we weren't necessarily able to do to that same ability with our CRM. Again, with that personalization too, with the preferred name stuff, that was a lot easier to do through Cadence than it was through Slate. And again, another big piece of it was really filtering down interests that people had to send event invites out that way, able to track specific metrics on who was responding to those messages that would allow for additional follow-up pieces that could come from there.
Great. Thank you so much. And we're going to close it out with a final question for our panelists. You guys get to pick which one you want to answer. But can you share a success story of your favorite success story of using your engagement platform, two-way texting, or a texting feature that is in your engagement platform that you couldn't live without? Clearly there were some because you couldn't live without them. You fled the CRM one, but so a success story or a texting feature you can't live without in your platform. And let's start with Chris again.
I'll go the success story side. Again, I went to St. Bonaventure. I've been here I'm on year 14 between student and family. I love this place more than anything. And to see those relationships develop in text from a student that even when they get to school, and maybe it annoys you when they're a sophomore and they're still texting you, but to know you've built that relationship because of this platform, because they can text you at any time. Our CRM specialist actually laughs because there was this one student who he got so comfortable with me, he went to a restaurant I recommended for him and he was texting me his food order and just going back and forth, like that kind of individual personalization. And so that's the type of stuff that for us was able to really take it to the next level, because you're building a trust with somebody. If you can do it from a cell phone like that, that's what they want. And to be able to just text you at any time. I also had another student this year who, God love him, he couldn't figure out what the term business casual was. And so he got nervous before an event and he was texting me, like making sure that he was wearing the right clothes before the event. And so it's really let us use it in other areas then too, because our staff on the back end has been able to then help our students. And we're starting to use it for orientation, financial aid and billing is starting to get involved. So all of these different stories that they've heard from us are letting more and more people on our university as a whole want to get involved with Cadence Mongoose.
Great. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Yeah, I have two kinds of things that they're actually highly related. I would say that in using an external platform, it was incredibly important for me and for our work to have that two-way flow of data between Cadence and our CRM, which again is Slate. And that was actually personally my biggest worry prior to implementing, because I knew that we would want that data to flow back, those message records and all of those things, and to flow, into the system, but to flow back as well. So that we could have it be an extension of our work through our CRM as well, and not necessarily like a parallel process. And so I can't live without that personally, and that was actually quite straightforward to set up. And perhaps I would say even the sort of opportunity cost of the amount of work, that Slate is very customizable, but it's so much work and it's so clunky and like everything. So like just having this solution that was relatively straightforward to set up that two-way flow of data, and then to have the full feature set of Cadence, again, as an extension of the Slate, that was a huge feature that I have benefited from. That's my answer.
Great. Thanks so much, Jesse. Moving on to James.
Well, for me, it was more the our success stories will go back when we were using it with Recruit, but because we've only been back on it with TargetX for a few months. But for me, when the roles that I'm currently doing, the 3 different roles, the parts that I enjoy is being able to connect all of the data, kind of to what Jesse was saying, is that integration of data. I'm working with graduate students. I'm working with undergraduate students. I'm managing the CRM, being able to connect it all together and being able to send that data flow back and forth and clean the data and make sure that, information is there. That's the piece that I love, that I've enjoyed the most. And to me, is the big success story is it kind of isn't so much with the students, because we know building that connection with the students that's texting is the way that we all communicate now. So that's a number one success story. But for me, is the success story isn't so much about the texting as it is being able to manage the flow of data and create a segment. So if somebody says, hey, we should send this text out, with our system now, if a student gets to 99% completed their application, a lot of times what we're noticing is that they're forgetting to actually go in and submit the application. They paid, they've done everything, but they haven't hit the submit button. Well, we talked about it, and for the next cycle, we can feed that information back over to Cadence and set up a recurring scheduled text message to any student that has that. It's been out there for a day at 99% complete, and say, hey, you're almost there. You're at 99%. Go complete your application. So that success story really is being able to text because of the flow of data.
Great. Thank you so much. And then Mike.
Yeah, I think the biggest feature that was a huge help to me coming from a smaller office, especially, were those advanced analytics and reporting stuff. The biggest piece was knowing what was working, what wasn't working, so you can replicate things for future campaigns, and being able to kind of track those metrics across different times of the year, especially with graduate, where there's not necessarily one just cycle. You're kind of always recruiting students throughout the year. Being able to have that ability to take a look and say, well, this worked in the spring semester, so we're going to do the same sort of thing in the fall semester. And we're going to see in metrics side by side what might work and what might not work. Definitely help to inform future communication.
Great, thank you. We had 2 questions come in. One question from Anthony: will there be any product demo today? No, not today. We're mostly focusing on, defining the difference between a CRM texting feature and a two-way texting platform, engagement platform like Cadence. If anyone on the call is interested, I know we have a bunch of clients on the call. If anyone is not currently texting or is looking for a two-way texting platform, you can go ahead and drop in the chat. We will have somebody reach out to you, no problem. Another question that we had come in is, can anybody speak to fundraising via text? Mike, I'm not sure if you have any clients that are using, that are texting for advancement, that you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so again, with the advancement piece, it's really just reaching out to those constituents in a more personalized manner, having that ability to have those one-on-one conversations with some maybe high-level donors, or using it to send some information about maybe upcoming donor days. There's a really, really great opportunity to make those personalized connections. And all people really want is that ability to feel like you are making an effort to deal with them one-on-one. A lot to be said for having a personalized text message versus an email mass campaign that might be going out. I know for me, when I get text messages from Canisius as a graduate myself too, from their advancement office, that makes me feel a lot more apt to actually donate than maybe getting a email message that seems like it's just being sent out to everybody else. So I can speak a little bit on that, but I know, like Lexi put in there too, there's some great resources about our fundraising stuff that she might be able to find a little bit more engaging in there, but I'd be happy to discuss it a little bit further.
Great. Thank you so much. That's the last question I have. We have another question come in. How have the panelists arrived at a happy medium between not fully utilizing text messaging and sending too many texts? So this is something, and causing prospects to unsubscribe. This is a question that we hear all the time. How much is too much texting? How do you find that balance between too little and too much communication? I have an answer to this, but I would love to hear the panelists answer. As long as your communication is timely and valuable to the recipient, it's never unwelcome. And I found that to be true with texts that I've received from my school. I have found that really with any kind of text that's come my way. If it's something that's helpful and valuable to me and is helping me accomplish something that I need, it's never unwelcome. So it's really just kind of go through that checklist. Is it timely? Is it helpful to my recipient? That should answer whether or not you should send it. If you're sending things that aren't timely or helpful, that's going to come across as spam. But I would love to hear if any of the panelists have feedback on that.
I'll go quickly on that. Just like, I agree with what you said there, Jessica, is timely. Building that relationship early so they don't feel like it's a spam text and it annoys them. But also, this can't be your only communications plan. It's a supplement to your communications plan. If you're trying to text all the time and do everything that way, that's not going to work, right? So you have to fit it in where it makes sense, to where you're just not spamming them through all medias.
Just from my own personal experience, some of the training resources that Cadence provided in terms of compliance and best practices in texting, I found that really helpful in terms of building these strategies to create text messages that someone would be sad if they didn't get, rather than annoyed if they did.
I love that. Anyone else?
And I can say with Cadence and Mongoose on the client success side, that's really what our role is, to work with you one-on-one to kind of craft some additional resources, kind of helping point you in the right direction and working with you to kind of find what that happy medium is. Like Chris said, it shouldn't be the only thing you're doing. Text messaging is not necessarily the best medium for all your communication, but finding when to sprinkle it in and when to use it as that resource can really help to increase in whatever endeavors you're looking to do.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And to the first question, and then I can kind of help with the chat one that's in there. But the happy medium is a challenge, for depending on the volume for us. Smaller institutions may be able to build that relationship, that dynamic, monitor that volume, that intake, and what you're sending a little bit more closely. For a school our size, we've got to take kind of like that targeted, specific launch approach. We can't continuously bombard, and for who said it was, it's not, I think it was Chris, that it's not just your one element. You can't just supplement to do texting. You got to supplement with emails, reference emails, make it engaging, make it interesting, but then also be mindful of what you're sending to give the students an out. Think about the text messages you receive from other companies and businesses that out of, please reply, stop, just, if you don't want to unsubscribe. You've got to be willing to allow people to say they're not interested. But if you're blasting them and you're not giving that out, then you're just spamming them. And so you really got to find a delicate balance between what are you asking. Now, you can be strategic and say, I'm not going to put stop on. I want to tell them about our open house event. But if they're saying, hey, updates on your application, if you want to stop or withdraw your application, let us know. And kind of giving that grace is kind of where we have to approach it, because we can't go through all of our student records and say, okay, this student hasn't responded to 6 straight messages, let's get them out of this. We don't have the ability to do that. So we've got to have that softness to say, okay, if you're not interested, let us know, we'll stop. But until then, we're going to keep giving you stuff. And as far as the adult undergraduate students, we have all kinds of undergraduate students. We don't have a specific office for those, but we do work with those. And we're trying to do more and focusing on texting those students. And I can speak to it from the graduate perspective. I know it's not undergraduate students, but that kind of same philosophy that we use is kind of translatable across the board. Is one of the things we're doing at the graduate school is when a student inquires, we ask them, how do they want to be communicated? Email, phone, or text? And if they say text, we say, okay, ask them, what number you want us to text? And we also ask them what time of day works best for them, and we don't give them like hour by hour. We say morning, and then we give a block like 9 to 11, afternoon, 1 to 3, evening, 5 to 7. So then when they respond, we adjust accordingly. So we take that same strategy and apply that to our adult undergraduate students. And that texting software allows that to happen, because if they say, can I call you? Yes, just hit call and it'll go straight to your office. You can set up that voice forwarding. So it's like they're calling your office number. So there's a lot of strategies you can utilize when it comes to the adult undergraduate students like that.
I love it. I think it's important to note, it's important to be reaching your audience on the channels that are most effective for that type of communication. How many times have you been on a meeting and you're like, oh, this could have been an email, right? How many times have you sent an email that could have been a text, right? Or how many times have you had back and forth support via email that could have been answered really quickly and easily via web chat on your website? You have to be using multiple channels to best support and communicate with your audiences. So thank you so much to our panelists. You have been amazing. If we don't have any questions, then we can move on to a quick summary. You go to screen share. Let me find it. It's hiding. There we go. All right, so a quick summary. So this is a combination of what we talked about today and of just feedback that we hear all the time from clients and non-clients. When you are using a CRM texting feature alone, you're not getting notifications, you're getting delays and notifications. It is clunky and difficult to use. You have to do so much manual work to make things happen. Implementation, onboarding, training, and adoption are very, very difficult. If it's hard to use, if the platform's hard to use, your team will not use it. Or you have one poor soul who's just jumping through hoops trying to make it usable for the rest of the team. If you are texting across campus, you have communication and scheduling issues across multiple departments, schools, across campus. You don't have the reporting that you need to inform whether your texts are resonating with people, if your campaigns are working. You don't have the customer support that you need. And if there's an issue with the feature, again, it's an afterthought feature. It's not necessarily what CRMs are designed for. So you're going to be seeing some support time. Frustrating and limited integrations. Sometimes you can't send to a large group. Sometimes you can't send one-on-one messages. And then we have heard that there's a ton of IT involvement required. We've also heard that there's sometimes a lot of marketing lift too, to manually pull reporting in certain CRMs. So that's just a summary of what we talked about today and how to best use a CRM with your texting or engagement platform. So you want to use the data in your CRM to enrich and personalize your communication. So you're going to see better support, or you're going to see better relationships with your audiences, and you're going to be able to support them better. Again, because of that two-way integration, you have easier training, adoption, and onboarding. All of that data is already there. There's a lot less manual work to be done. There is time saved in automating all of those tasks that you can then, you save a ton of staff time that can then be used to build those one-to-one relationships. That's when you get, students texting Chris about your menu order. And then you have better short and long-term results. If you're looking at shorter term departmental goals, if you're looking at long-term goals like enrollment or fundraising at institutional level, you're going to see improvement in both of those areas. Just some data around it. This isn't news to anybody on the call, but there are issues in enrollment, retention, and fundraising right now, and there's data to back it up. You know, we have dropping enrollment rates, we have reduced retention, we have reduced donor engagement when it's not personalized, right? When you ask what higher ed audiences want, and it's always good to ask, right? Like James said, if you don't know when's the best time to send this audience text, ask them when's the best time to send you a text. If it's 9 p.m., you can then segment everyone who wants to be talking to you at 9 p.m. and you can send them a text at 9 p.m. But higher ed audiences want personalized communication early and often. And I don't think that this is unique to higher ed. I think this spans across a lot of industries. But real quick, who on the call would say that they are meeting that expectation, the early, often personalized communication with their audience? Oh, we have a lot of no's right off the bat. I think that, you know, most institutions in and outside of higher ed can improve here. It's just a new expectation, a new consumer expectation, right? How many people hate Prime Video compared to Netflix just because it's hard to use and it's not personalized enough and it doesn't give you what you need fast enough? So the same goes for your school's communication with your audiences, right? So whether you're communicating with students, maybe the parents of those students, alumni, donors, they all really want the same thing, personalized communication. All right, thank you. So the final thing that we are going to get to today is what is modern higher ed engagement? So student engagement, alumni engagement, these are buzzwords that are being thrown around a lot in higher ed right now, but nobody's defining them. They're just saying, oh, this is engagement. But what actually is it? So higher ed engagement is reaching and connecting with audiences on their preferred channels when and how they need you to, right? So if somebody's coming to your website, and let's be honest, higher ed websites are huge and they can also be clunky and it can be really hard without, you know, search or web chat to find what you need. That is a touch point. That is a key touch point that you can go ahead and say, hi, you know, I'm Mike. I see that you're looking at, you know, admissions information, like how can I help you? Things like, obviously texting, which is a lot of what we're talking about today, right? That's a channel that all of these audiences are using. And it's a preferred channel for a lot of people to communicate on. So making sure, and again, making sure that those communications are timely and relevant and helpful to the recipient. That's really the key and the core of what higher ed engagement is all about. It's using the channels that make the most impact in a way that best supports your audience and the people who are receiving those messages. And that's really what drives results at an institutional level, because when you do right by your audiences, you do right by your school. CRM data, meet engagement platforms. So again, talking about how to most effectively use your CRM data to enrich your engagement strategy and inform and personalize your communications. What does this look like at a platform level? You are removing barriers between your audience and your staff. You're making it easy for them to communicate with each other. You're creating new opportunities for involvement, interaction, and relationship building. That's sending texts. That's chatting somebody on your website. These are the channels that you want to be looking at. Improving and simplifying processes for staff. The above 2 points you can't do if nobody's using the platform because it's too difficult to use. And then preserving that staff time for genuine human interaction. So much time is wasted, especially in higher ed, when you have platforms that aren't tied together, or you're using something like a CRM that isn't designed to communicate. All of this staff time, and I mean, James said himself, he's wearing 3 hats. How many people in higher ed are wearing 3 hats? A lot. You need to use your time as effectively and efficiently as possible, and that is going to be supporting and engaging students. You can't do that if your solution doesn't enable that. So that's why we finish here, invest in solutions that help your audience to flourish and have better outcomes. That's why we have people who, you've got budget cuts, you go to CRM texting, and then you find out that maybe that was not the right spot to cut that budget. And then this is more of a visual. If you're looking at platforms right now, you want to look at the communication channels, again, like texting and chat. You want analytics that inform what you're doing and let you know, is this campaign working? Is it not? You want there to be automation in place that's going to make things as easy as possible for your staff and for your audience, so that you're not wasting a ton of time, that it's easy to use, and that it integrates. That's huge, right? So you want, especially when people are trying to use their CRM data to personalize communications, you want that two-way integration. So you're not always, and most platforms will have the option to upload manually your data, but having that real-time flow of data from your CRM, we heard from several of our panelists today, that's a feature that they can't live without. In summary, CRMs aren't built for effective or efficient audience communications. They are great at managing and housing your data, great at data management. If you're looking to build relationships with your students, CRMs probably aren't going to be the best fit for you. They waste a ton of time and they actually add to student disengagement. If you are integrating a student engagement platform with your CRM, that is going to maximize your efforts because you have real-time data that flows between the platforms so that you can personalize your communications. And again, for those of you who are worried about that balance, am I texting too much? Am I texting too little? How do I text more without having people opt out? Personalization is key. And then you have to consider wasted staff time and the cost of poor engagement when you make those budget decisions. So this is for everybody who uses an engagement platform now, or who is two-way texting right now, and maybe that's something that's on the chopping block. Try to get whoever is in that decision-making seat to understand the opportunity cost and the cost in staff time and efficiency and effectiveness when considering where to allocate your budget moving forward. And then students want personalized communication. CRM texting, again, can't offer that. If the platform's hard to use, it's not going to be used. Or again, you've got one poor soul jumping through hoops to make it usable for the rest of the team. And even then, it's not going to give you the results that you want. And then lastly, student engagement, and this applies to all higher engagement, right? So if you are communicating with alumni, or if you're communicating with the parents of students, no matter who your audience is, if you're communicating with your constituents, engagement's a proven method to increase things like enrollment and retention and fundraising at your school. We had at least one person ask about our product itself. Mongoose makes Cadence. It is an engagement platform. If you are interested in learning more about the platform itself, you can raise your hand in the chat. We can have somebody reach out to you after this event to learn more about it. And I also wanted to invite you, we have a community over here at Mongoose. We have the Goose newsletter, where we give you higher ed news that's easy, enjoyable, and entertaining. If you want quick and easy student engagement tips, video clips, 3 minutes of your day that can help you boost your engagement strategy, it's a great newsletter to sign up for. And we have For Your Institution, which is a biweekly virtual event series. And I know I've recognized some names on this event who have attended For Your Institution, who are members of that community. It's just a really good time. We meet every 2 weeks. You get to hang out with Mike and Greg on our team, who are just really, really fun. And we talk to people like Bob Johnson and Dr. Lisa Nunn and Neil Ford, people who get to, it's just really interesting takes on higher ed and what's going on. And that's a wrap. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. Again, you will receive a copy of the presentation and you will receive a recording. So I really appreciate everybody who joined us today. If you have any questions about, the content we covered, you can reach out to me. I'm Jess at mongooseresearch.com. We've got Mike Mike S at mongooseresearch.com if you have any, client success questions, or if you want to talk to him a little bit more. If you are a Mongoose client, you always have your client success lead to ask any questions at all. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.